Well, we got almost all the head coaching jobs filled. There's only 2 left. Washington, Seattle. I think something happens this week with both those jobs. My gut feel is that I still think that Dan Quinn Dallas is going to go back to Seattle. And in Washington, they're trying to finalize what I think is an offer to Ben Johnson, the Detroit offensive coordinator. But there are other names out there that still might get thrown into the mix with the Washington Commanders. The new owner, Josh Harris, is going to meet with Ben Johnson. It's either Monday or it's going to be Tuesday or Wednesday. I think by midweek, both those jobs probably will be filled. But the movement of coordinators has been staggering. How many coordinators have lost their jobs? How many coordinators got fired from teams that had pretty decent seasons and faltered in postseason? Here's the latest on Brandon Staley. I thought he was a lock to go to the Rams. The minute Raheem Morris left the Rams as defensive coordinator to take the Falcons job, I thought Brandon Staley was a lock. Has not been hired yet. Brandon Staley spent part of the weekend in Green Bay with the Packers, in Miami with their coach, because they both have defensive coordinator openings, and the Rams are still out there, but the Rams now are starting to interview other people. So we'll find out how hot a commodity Brandon Staley is probably this week. Kellen Moore, Charger offensive coordinator, ex-Dallas Cowboy offensive coordinator, not retained by Jim Harbaugh coming in the front door. His star doesn't shine real bright right now. Now suddenly you look back at Kellen Moore's run, and Kellen Moore had a couple of good years with Dak Prescott in Dallas. But when he exited, what did Dak do? Dak went for 32 touchdowns and 6 interceptions,
That's right. Yeah.
and the Cowboys were dynamic.
Yeah.
Kellen Moore comes to the Chargers, linked with Justin Herbert. And what happened? They stopped scoring. Granted, the quarterback was hurt.
Right.
Running back got dinged, and they never had a run game. Offensive line was substandard. So Kellen Moore's star isn't shining as bright right now. That being said, Kellen Moore interviewing a bunch of different places, hired by the Eagles. Snap of the fingers.
Wow.
Hired on Sunday night by Nick Sirianni, who's fired everybody off his staff because of what happened in Philadelphia. So Kellen Moore's taken his resume and his notebook, and he's gone to Philadelphia to work with Jalen Hurts. Vic Fangio, third name on the board, legendary defensive coordinator, didn't do real well. Denver got treated poorly, wound up in Miami this past season, like on a 1-year rental. He walked away from McDaniel's program down there. Vic Fangio, hired by the Eagles. So Nick Sirianni, in the span of Saturday night, Sunday, hires Fangio to be his defensive coordinator and Kellen Moore to take over the offense. And the last guy is so highly respected, Ron Rivera, player, defensive coordinator, what he did at Carolina, what he tried to do in Washington in a bad situation. Ron Rivera met with the Cowboys yesterday for a defensive job. We think it's a consultant job. I don't think it's a coordinator's job. But he met with Dallas, and today, he's in L.A. meeting with the Rams. So things are kind of changing for name coordinators. So, John, that's the hot list. If you go through Hacksaw's headlines, the written form on my website, I have a list of all the coordinators that are interviewing.
It's a long list.
Yeah, it's like your shopping grocery list at the supermarket. There's so many names on it. The movement, I can't recall a year in which we've had such movement of so many coordinators, in addition to the 8 coordinators who got fired by the 8 head jobs that are open, but a whole bunch of other guys on teams that had winning seasons, they got bounced too. So what name do you like there to talk about?
Well, Kellen Moore, we knew him as a bright light. You had commented on that in Dallas. I mean, heck, I remember when he was quarterbacking for the Boise State Broncos back in the day. But what happened? I mean, why is his, playbook not working?
It stuns me because I thought him linking, and he's a smart guy, with the smart guy, Justin Herbert, quarterback Chargers, that would have been a relationship made in heaven, and they would have been dynamic, and they would have done things. Now, maybe some of it's got to do with the hand injury, the left hand injury that Herbert tried to play through for the first 2/3 of the season. Maybe some of it's got to do with all the skill wide receivers getting hurt and gone for chunks of time. Maybe some of it's got to do is Austin Eckler was not Austin Eckler, and the offense wasn't the offense, and the offensive line, well, they put all these studs in place and thought this was the breakout year. They didn't do a very good job protecting the quarterback. So it's probably a check off all those boxes along the way. But it's eerie to me that all of a sudden this hot name gets let go in Dallas, and Mike McCarthy reinvents the Cowboys under Dak Prescott, and anything Kellen Moore did there doesn't shine as brightly as what Mike McCarthy did. And it comes to the Chargers, and what we expected never ever happened. So suddenly Kellen Moore is being looked at maybe in a little bit different lens right now too.
Yeah, exactly. And then, even Staley, I mean, we were so down on Staley, when he was head coach of the Chargers, and he was the defensive guru.
Yep.
And the defense was terrible. So if he's going to Green Bay or Miami potentially, I bet there's got to be a lot of second guessing, if he's the right guy.
Well, the rap on Staley was he was too inflexible. My system works. My players will get the system. Well, we saw how poor their defense was, total defense, pass defense. And then after he was let go, there were a lot of rumblings from within that Charger locker room that he wouldn't change the system. The players couldn't take in all the volume of information. You watch Charger games, I mean, you see guys running open all the time on blown assignment coverages. That's the players being a step too slow because they're trying to think what they should be doing in a certain setup as the receivers are blowing by them. So we'll see if Staley is going to be a different defensive coordinator than he was as a head coach, because what he ran defensively, and it was his defense, and he called the plays, what he ran surely did not work. Hey, we get to halftime.